Hello student, this is the second part of the lesson, that is manufacturing industries, class 10th geography. So in previous part we have seen contribution of industries to national economy, then industrial location, then classification of the industries. So now come to the, even though agro-based industries we have seen, then come to the cotton textile industries. Before to that, we will discuss agro-based industries. So here, agro-based industry. Cotton, jute, silk, woolen, textiles, sugar and the edible oil, etc. These industries are based on the agricultural raw material. So one of them is textile industry. First agro-based industry is textile industry. So the textile industry occupy unique position in Indian economy because it contributes significantly to industrial production, that is 14%, and employment generation, that is 35 million persons, directly the second largest after the agriculture, and foreign exchange earning about 24.6 and 24.6% we get foreign earning. It contribute 4% towards the GDP. GDP में इस इंडस्ट्री का शेयर जो है वो 4% है. It is only the industry in the country which is self-reliant. हमारे कंट्री की जो इंडस्ट्री एग्रो बेस्ड इंडस्ट्री में टेक्सटाइल इंडस्ट्री, इट इज सेल्फ रिलायंट एंड कॉम्पीट इन द वैल्यू ऑफ चेन, दैट इज फ्रॉम रॉ मटेरियल टू हाईएस्ट वैल्यू एडेड प्रोडक्ट. देन वी कम टू द cotton textile industries. Cotton textile industry. In the ancient India, cotton textiles were produced with the hand spinning and handloom weaving techniques. After the 18th century, powerloom came into use. Our traditional industries suffered a setback during the colonial period because they could not compete with the mill-made cloth from England. So here today there are nearly 1600 cotton and the human-made fibers textile mills are in the country. About 80% of these are in the private sector and are rest in the public and cooperative sector. Apart from this, there are several thousand small factories with 4 to 10 looms. In the early years, the cotton textile industries are concentrated in the cotton growing belt. They are concentrated in growing belt of the Maharashtra and Gujarat. Availability of raw cotton, market transport including accessible port facilities, labor, moist climate, etc., contributed towards its localization. This industry has close link with the agriculture and provide the lives to farmers, cotton ball pluckers, and the workers engage in ginning, spinning, then weaving, dyeing, then designing, packaging, tailoring, and the sewing. The industry, by creating demand, supports many other industries such as chemical, chemicals and dyes. Means this industry gives support to other industries, that's chemical and dyes for coloring and designing, mill stores, then packaging material and engineering works. So for all these works they get support from other industry. Then while spinning continue to be centralized in Maharashtra, Gujarat and Tamil Nadu, weaving is highly decentralized to provide the scope in incorporating traditional skills and design of weaving in cloth, in the cotton, silk, zari and embroidery, etc. India has world's class production in spinning, but weaving supply low quality of fabric as it cannot use much of high quality yarn produced in the country. Weaving is done by handloom, power loom and in mills. The hand spun khadi provides large scale employment to weavers in their homes as cottage industry. So here given in this figure table 5.1 about the production of fabric in India by various sectors, that is mill share of the production 6% and loomage that is 1.33 lakh. Power loom 54.17%, that is loomage 14 lakh. And handloom 23%. So here see note, what is note given? 90% of the weaving, cutting and the processing is in the decentralized sector, means they are located in different places for this work. So here study the figures above and note the share of mills in the production of fabric. Why is it important for our country to keep the mill sector looming lower than the power loom and handloom? See, again I am reading. Why is it important for our country to keep mill sector loomage lower than the power loom and handloom? So if we talk this, India export yarn to Japan. India से कहाँ export होता है yarn? To Japan and other importers of cotton goods from India are USA. कॉटन गुड्स हमारे यहाँ से कहाँ जाते हैं? USA, UK, रशिया, फ्रांस and East European countries, Nepal, Singapore, Sri Lanka, and African countries. In this map given distribution of cotton, woolen and silk industries. So here blackish color indicates cotton textile, red color indicate woolen textile industries, and another, that is this one, is called the silk textile industries, located in the different part of the countries with their color sign. Then come to the page number 70. India has a second largest installed capacity of spindles in the world, next to China at around 34 million. Then since the mid-18th, the spinning sectors has received a lot of attention. We have large share in the world trade of the cotton yarn, accounting for 1/4 of the total trade. However, our trade in the garment is only 4% of the world total. Means our trade in the garment is only 4% of the world's total production. Our spinning mills are competitive at global level and capable of using all fibers we produce. The weaving, knitting and the processing units cannot use much of the high quality yarn that is produced in the country. There are some large and modern factories in these segments, but most of the production is fragmented, small units which cater to the local market. This mismatch is major drawback for the industry. As a result, many of our spinners export cotton yarn, and while apparel garment manufacturer have to import fabric. Means local market to demand. So here, although all through we have made significant increase in the production of good quality long staple cotton, that is 9,232 lakh bales. Bales, it is the unit of this cloth. In 2004-5, the need to import is still felt. Power supply is erratic, means irregular, and machinery needs to be upgraded. मशीनरी की नीड्स जो है वो अपग्रेडेड होनी चाहिए इन वीविंग एंड processing sector in particular. So other problems are the low output of labor and still competition with the synthetic fiber industry. Then come to the jute industry. Next industry is jute industry. So India is the largest. India is the largest jute producer of the raw jute and the jute goods, and the stand of the second place as an exporter after the Bangladesh. Means India's rank for exporting jute is of the second after Bangla. Bangla is on the first rank. There are about 70 jute mills in India. Most of those are located in West Bengal, mainly along the bank of Hooghly River. In the narrow belt that is 98 km long and 3 km wide. Factors responsible for their location in the Hooghly Basin are proximity of the jute producing areas. Proximity means near the jute producing area. Inexpensive water transport supported by the good network of the railways, roadways and the waterways facilitate the movement of raw material to the mills. Abundance of water process for the processing raw jute, cheap labor from the West Bengal and adjoining states of Bihar, Orissa and that of the Orissa and the Uttar Pradesh. Kolkata as a large urban center provides banking, insurance and the port facilities for the export of jute. The jute industry support 2.61 lakh workers directly and another 40 lakh small and marginal farmers who are engaged in cultivation of jute and mesta. Many more people are associated indirectly. Many more people they are associated indirectly. So challenges faced by the industry include stiff competition in the international market from the synthetic substitute and from the other competitors like the Bangladesh, Brazil, Philippines, Egypt and the Thailand. However, the internal demand has been on the increased due to the government policy of the mandatory use of the jute packaging. So, to stimulate demand, the products needs to be diversified. In 2005, National Jute Policy was formulated with the objective of increasing productivity, improving quality and ensuring good prices to the jute farmers and enhancing the yield per hectare. So the main market of USA, Canada, Russia, United Arab Republic, UK and Australia. The growing global concern for the environment friendly then biodegradable materials has once again opened the opportunity of jute producer. Then sugar industry. India stands second as a world producers of the sugar but occupies the first place in the production of gur and the khandsari, the raw material. The raw material used in this industry is bulky and haulage at sucrose content reduces. Where should the mills be ideally located? There are over 460 sugar mills in the country spread over the Uttar Pradesh, Bihar, Maharashtra, Karnataka, Tamil Nadu, Andhra Pradesh and the Gujarat, along with the Punjab, Haryana, Madhya Pradesh. 60% mills are in Uttar Pradesh and Bihar. This industry is seasonal in nature, so it is ideally suited to the cooperative sector. Can you explain this why? So in recent years, there is a tendency for mills to shift and the concentrate the southern and western states, especially in Maharashtra. This is because the cane produced here has higher sucrose content. The cooler climate also ensure a longer crushing season. Moreover, cooperatives are more successful in these states. Major challenges include the seasonal nature of the industry, old and inefficient methods of the production, transport, delay in reaching cane to the factor, and need to maximize the use of baggage. The next one is mineral based industries. Mineral based industries. So industries that use minerals and material as a raw material are called the mineral based industries. Then iron and steel industries. So here iron and steel industries is basic industry, since all the other industries, heavy, medium, light, depend on it for their machinery. Steel is needed to manufacture a variety of engineering goods, construction materials, defense, medical, telephonic, scientific equipment, and the variety of the consumer goods. So the production and consumption of the steel is often regarded as the index of the country's development. Iron and steel is heavy industry because all the raw material as well as finished goods are heavy and bulky, entitling heavy transportation cost. Iron ore, coking coal and limestone, they are required in the ratio of approximately 4:2:1. So this is the proportion of iron ore, coking coal and limestone. Some quantities of the manganese are also required to harden the steel. Where should the steel plants be ideally located. Remember that the finished products also need an efficient transport network for their distribution to the market and the consumption. Today, with 32.8 million tons of this steel production, India ranked ninth among the world crude steel production. It is largest producer of the sponge iron. In spite of large quantity of the production of steel, per capita consumption per annum is only 32 kg. So here given the processes of manufacture steel, that is flow chart is given here, transport of the raw material, then blast furnace, then pig iron, that is molten material, pour into the mold that is called the pigs. Then shaping metal, that is rolling, then pressing, casting and the forging, and then steel making. Steel making, that is pig iron, further purified by melting and oxidizing the impurities, that is manganese, nickel, chromium, and are added for this purpose of the purification. Then in this map given iron and steel industries, which are given in this map, which indicates the red color in square, Then this is the table given 5.2 total finished steel production in India from 1950. In 1950, total finished steel production that was in India 1.04%, and if we talk about 2004-5, that was 32.60% in the million tons per annum. Then presently there are So here presently there are 10 primary integrated and many mini steel plants in India. See appendix and the mark this on the map of India. So here most all the public industry sectors, all this public sector undertaking the market near their steel through the Steel Authority of India Limited, that is SAIL, and TISCO market. It's produced through the Tata Steel. In 1950, China and India produced almost the same quantity of steel. Today, China is the largest producer. China is also world's highest consumer of steel. In 2004, India was the largest exporter of steel, which accounted for 2.5 2.25% of the global steel trade. Chota Nagpur Plateau region has the maximum concentration iron and steel industry. It is largely because of relatively advantage of this region has for the development of this industry. So this includes low cost of iron ore and high grade of the raw material in the proximity and cheap labor, vast growth of potential in the home market. Though India is an important iron and steel producing country in the world, yet we are not able to perform to our full potential largely due to high cost and limited availability of the cooking coal. Labor produ- productivity, labor productivity and poor infrastructure. We also import the good quality of steel from the other countries. However, overall production of steel is sufficient to meet our domestic demands. So, liberalization and foreign direct investment have given the boost to this industry with the efforts of the private entrepreneur. There is a need to allocate resources for the research and development to the produce still more competitively. Here, in the figure 6.5 given steel production in India and China. China indicate red color and blue color indicate for the India. So see, China is the world first in the first rank for the producing of steel, and after that India. So figures are given from 1949 to 2040. So if we talk about the China production of 2004, that was 270, and if India, if we talk about India, that one was only 32.6. So here is the end of this lesson.